Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Welcome to the program. A little later on, we'll be catching up with Jordan Kealy of Kealy Farm. You've probably seen him at various farmers markets over the past, certainly last summer. I'm sure he'll be at them again this summer. We'll be talking a bit about the outlook for his farm this coming season, given the prices of everything, including gasoline, going up today included. But first, the Fort St. John Salvation Army's new supportive housing building is up, but there's still a way to go with construction before people in need can start moving in. So to get an update on construction and all things Salvation Army, we're joined now by the Fort St. John Salvation Army's Executive Director, Jared Braun. Welcome back, Jared, to Moose Talks.
Thanks, Dov. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here in person. I think you were the first person I had on the show in person last year when restrictions lifted. So
seems like a long time ago.
Right. So I thought we'd start kind of in general. How's this year going for the Salvation Army so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that we're in April here already. It has gone by so fast. But we're really pleased with just the ongoing support of the community and the ability that we've had to meet the needs that are in there. I mean, since last fall, the amount of people accessing the food bank has just continued to increase.
Wow.
New families and people coming in every single month. And yet, because of the generosity of the community, our partnership with the grocery stores, we're continuing able to provide amazing amounts of food to everybody that comes in and accesses the food bank. So that's been incredible. And we went through the winter. We had our warm spells and then our crazy cold spells, and in whatever season. We were well staffed and able to provide all the beds and housing with our emergency shelter. And during the winter, we obviously expand the bed capacity with the emergency weather response program, which ended here now. But even going forward, we have the capability that if the weather dips down again, everybody will be able to come and get a bed that needs one. And so, we are just thankful that we're able to provide those services. Our thrift store has been doing super well. I just talked with my thrift store manager this morning, and we're just so grateful for the community coming out and shopping and supporting the store. And out of the last 15 days, we've had 13 where we've gone over $1,000 in sales, and to know that all that money is coming right back in the community to support our work. So, we're really pleased.
Excellent. I wonder if you can speak in general, if you can, about what are the challenges that people are using the food bank are facing. Is it they come here, they can't find enough work? Is it the cost of everything going up, the cost of food and the grocery stores has been going up, since the flooding, and before that, cost of gasoline, all that. What are you hearing from people using the food bank and so many of them using the food bank?
Yeah, it's quite a variety of different reasons. Some of it has been COVID related, where people's jobs were on hold. There were some people's jobs were impacted by different mandates, and so we had people who were professionals who were coming in and needing to use the food bank because they weren't able to get a consistent paycheck. The rising cost of groceries definitely has impacted, different families that have, quite a number of kids that they need to serve, and they're just not able to get all the items they would need. And so sometimes coming to the food bank is just a matter of topping up. Because of the relationship we have with grocery stores, different grants, we can get things like meat and protein that can be really expensive to get in the stores. Then work around here can be very seasonal, and so if people haven't really prepared themselves financially for times like coming into now spring breakup, those can be factors as well that cause people to need to utilize the food bank in a slower income season for themselves. Different life challenges, health challenges, seniors that are struggling with a really minimal pension, or people that are on disability where the income's really low. And so, it's a matter of deciding, do I pay for rent? Do I pay for food? Of course, we want people to be able to do both. The food bank is able to offset that cost so that they don't have to struggle with that choice. Do I eat, or do I have a place to stay?
Well, you said the community has still been very supportive of the Salvation Army through this time. I wonder what the impact has been then on, say, a donation. Somebody says, I want to give $100 to the food bank. Well, again, that $100 isn't going as far as it used to. Are you finding that a bit of a challenge? Or as you said, are these grants and the relationships you have with grocery stores helping to overcome that so you still kind of get the same bang for your buck maybe you were before because of it?
I think it'll really be telling as we head into the summertime, because obviously during Christmas is our big drive for financial giving, and the community really stepped up, allowing us to surpass our $100,000 goal there. But it's the ongoing financial donations that we're kind of tracking at the early part of the year to see where that will be. We would really like to see a growth in monthly contributions, and we'll probably be doing some campaigns around that shortly. But what helps carry us through is just even in volunteer help and people giving of their time. Maybe they can't give of their financial resources, but they can come and support with their time. Well, that helps offset costs, employee labor costs for us when we have people that are willing to come and give their time to support. We've seen a real uptick in volunteers in the last while as well. So that's demonstrated the support. And then, different companies and corporations, coming and giving gifts. It'll be interesting to see, as we get to summer, will that slow down? Will we need to come up with some new initiatives, new creativity in different ways to fundraise, how that will go?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to ask you about this because, of course, you, like the Women's Resource Center, often the people who are using your store are in difficult situations, or the emergency shelters, right? People who are addicted to things or maybe have overdoses in their life and whatnot. Well, Northern Health has proposed to the city an overdose prevention services sort of building, essentially, to offer it through a building that won't be far from where the Salvation Army is here in downtown. I wonder if you could comment on what maybe you've heard about that, and if you think it's a positive thing that City Council should definitely throw their weight behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a conversation that's been ongoing in our community for a while. And when I started into the role, kind of jumped into learning more about it. But I definitely see the need for services like that. We deal with a lot of folks who are in that very vulnerable space. And, to us, every life matters. Uh-huh. And we think that this service here in the community is one more piece to be able to care for lives, protect lives, and I think that it will be really helpful as long as it's done well and done right. And as long as people understand, it's one part of the harm reduction support program. Harm reduction is not just about providing a place for safe injection, but it's the full spectrum of care. And so we see ourselves as one part of that in providing things like housing and food. When people know that they're cared for and have these tangible supports, it helps to give them that ability to step up and deal with some of the other issues. But the concern around overdose is huge and needs to be addressed. Mm-hmm. So this facility will, hopefully really help with that, and with Northern Health committing resources to it, in nursing and life skills support, the things that they've proposed. If they're able to follow through with that, we think it will be really beneficial for our community.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about the stigma of that too, because again, you help a lot of people in situations like that. I know we got a message here from somebody who said, "I'm tired of my tax dollars paying for drug addicts to overdose," essentially, and that's a stigma we hear now. Do you think this is a stigma that is getting better? Are we seeing more people in society more understanding, more empathetic towards people in vulnerable situations who are suffering?
I think a lot depends on what people's willingness is to engage. Are they simply looking at what they're reading on social media as that's what's forming their perspective, or are they personally connected with maybe family members or colleagues who they know are struggling? Mm-hmm. And are they engaged in work like what we're doing, or Women's Resource, or Community Bridge, really frontline type of work? That really can change the perspective on what people's outlook is on stigmatizing others. And I always encourage people, that it really comes down to relationship and engaging with people at a personal level. Every person, their life is valuable, no matter what they're going on in that moment. And I would hope that all of us, whether it was our tax dollars or some other way that we could contribute, would be willing to, step up to the plate to say, maybe this is not my lot in life, but this is where you have ended up. And maybe by your choice or not by your choice, will I still care for you, and will I still support you and stand by you? And I would hope as humanity that that's our desire. We see that in response to world affairs and things that have happened even during COVID, where people have been incredible in showing compassion and care. And, the lives of someone who's struggling with addiction deserve that compassion and care as well.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the supportive housing complex. We wrote a story about this earlier this week. It went up very quickly, which was kind of the benefit of it. But there's still some work to be done. I think they're kind of working on the interior right now. Is that is that what's happening at the moment with this?
Well, actually, the interior is just about complete.
Oh, okay.
I was just inside earlier this week, and they actually have had cleaners in cleaning out the suites from all the construction debris and different things like that. And they're really doing a lot of the finalizing touches on the building. And so the building itself is just about fully finished. Of course, they're waiting for spring thaw to do a lot of the concrete and landscaping work outside.
Gotcha.
But the biggest holdout that the contractor's struggling with is BC Hydro getting the main power supply hooked into the building. And until that happens, we're not able to get the fire alarm systems hooked up that would really allow occupancy and allow us to get in there, start getting set up. So that's one of the really big pieces that we're waiting on right now. And then from our end, as the operator, there's a lot of work to be done in getting in office supplies, computers, furniture, and getting our budgets approved through BC Housing so that we can then start recruiting and hiring the staff. And so we're expecting a number of months, to be able to go through that process, start getting familiar with the building. Mm-hmm. When we start getting staff in, training them, preparing them. So we want to be able to start very strongly. But we have been accepting applications for the facility, and we're looking forward to this next month, starting to meet with partners like Northern Health, BC Housing, Women's Resource, Community Bridge, to look at the applications to see who will be the best fit. And our hope, our desire would be that sometime this summer, we'd be able to start welcoming people into the building.
Wonderful. Did you expect this kind of a delay from BC Hydro? Because tell me if I'm wrong. It's because, again, they need the ground to thaw in order to get this kind of electricity to the building. Is that right?
Yeah, that is one of the problems right now is because they have to trench down and the ground is still quite frozen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it seems like BC Hydro has a bit this reputation when big projects, it just takes them a long time to be able to get in. And so I know the conversation from the contractor was in place with BC Hydro for a long time, and it's just taken a long time to get them into the queue to have them prepared. But good progress has happened. They put in a new power pole about a week ago to get a new transformer up, and now they're just waiting to get the trenching done so that they can get the lines in, and hopefully we'll see that happen shortly.
Excellent. And you said summer, hopefully, for people.
That's what we want to see. Yeah. So we will keep our fingers crossed for that.
We will indeed keep our fingers crossed as well. Jared, thank you so much for stopping by and making some time for us today.
It was great to be here, Dub. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. That's Jared Braun, the Executive Director of the Fort St. John South. Welcome back to the show. Now we're going to talk about farming in the piece, which has met a lot of struggles in the past few years. It's been too wet, too cold. Prices have gone up, and of course the carbon tax going up again today, among many other things going on. So to chat a bit about farming and his experiences and the prospects for the season, we're joined now by Jordan Kealy of Kealy Farm. How's it going today, Jordan?
Not too bad. If only the carbon tax was an April Fool's joke.
Right. If only. Well, I thought we'd start with this for people who don't know you, because, of course, you are at farmers markets a lot, so there are a lot of people around here who know of you guys. But for people who don't know, what do you guys do on your farm? What's kind of your big business?
So on our farm, we've got about 80 head of cattle right now. We started in 2008, so it's an interesting thing trying to farm nowadays with expensive land prices and expensive equipment. And the traditional way of selling our beef wasn't really working, so we decided last year to start selling direct to the consumers, doing the farmers markets. And last year that worked out pretty good for us, and we've carried over selling during the wintertime and up until now, and we're going to start the markets again. So we'll be doing Fort St. John and Charlie Lake again as well.
Okay.
And then we also have our live animals that we sell as well, where we've got geese, goslings, and chickens. And then we also have little fainting goats as well, where we sell to kids. So in Charlie Lake, we normally end up, my wife will normally bring out some of the baby critters and stuff for kids to see.
I'll say that's the part I remember, and my daughter being just fascinating with them when we saw you at the farmers market at Charlie Lake. All right, so I didn't realize that the farmers market were that new for you. So you used to just sell to like a beef supplier, I suppose, or
Yeah, so the traditional way is you sell to auctions or direct to feedlots,
Gotcha.
or you have purebred where you're selling to other breeders. And the traditional means of selling aren't as worthwhile as what they used to be. And even farmers that own their land when they got it cheaper and they have all their equipment paid off are still struggling to be able to sell their product and make money. So it's even more difficult when you incorporate doing it now, and you're paying more for the land and you're paying more for the equipment, and then more for everything else.
Yeah. And I think you commented on this yesterday. I think you put out a story about let's see if I got it right, a price-fixing lawsuit filed against beef suppliers here in Canada, for example. I mean, this was a reality where the price of beef kept going down for you, the seller, but then, of course, it kept going up in the supermarket, which is why there's this lawsuit. But you had said this is great for consumers, but again, what about the farmers who are raising the cattle, you know?
Yeah, so the farmers really, there's been no inflation in what they're getting paid at all. If anything, last fall we saw our prices go to the same as what it was when BSE hit 20 years ago.
Wow.
And farmers just can't sustain doing that anymore. That we're starting to see more and more farmers just selling out because their land is now more worthwhile and the property taxes are getting higher. And you get these big corporations that are taking over and lobbying the government. They're the ones that own so many different parts of the chain, and they can fix these prices. So the traditional form of selling, where you're going to an auction or to this feedlot, they'll own these feedlots as well. They'll own some of them. They own the auctions as well. They'll fix the prices as what they want to pay.
Yeah.
And then they'll turn around, process the animal, and they fix their price. And then it goes to the grocery chains where they can end up making their money. Meanwhile, just last year, Cargill reported that they made 300% profit over the course of the pandemic. So this lawsuit just highlights the fact that the consumers really are paying way more than what they should. And these big corporations, they're not putting anything back into our infrastructure, and right now that infrastructure that we have locally is hurting, and that's where I try and support that locally by my animals get slaughtered local, my animals also get butchered local. All that money stays local, whereas these big corporations, they'll have temporary foreign workers and they're not even employing our own citizens, and then that money will end up going out of the country, and then these big companies, they're out of this country as well. So all those profits don't even come back to Canada. So I found that where people really have to start looking is by supporting local, you're supporting our infrastructure ourselves, and actually being able to diversify, being able to actually produce our own products again, where we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I think it's, I've had Bess Legault, who's the president of the Fort St. John Farmers Market, on recently. We were talking about how I noticed the price of meat in the grocery store compared to the price of meat, say, at Neat's Fireweed Market, where there are some local producers who are selling their meat there, about the same at the moment, which is I've never seen that before. Usually you pay a bit of a premium to help out somebody local. So right now, I mean, you buy it local, that profit goes entirely to the local farmer, as opposed to, as you say, where if you buy it, say, at a grocery store, well, that goes elsewhere, right? So, I have to ask you, I mean, you said last year you found it was good for you guys to sell your beef this way, kind of farmers markets and whatnot. Are you then looking, what's kind of the outlook for you this year then, if you're going to keep doing that, and with prices going up, say, like gasoline, the carbon tax, food, your taxes and whatnot on your land, what kind of a year are you expecting?
Well, last year we sold some of our animals the traditional way, and we lost money. And that's where we said something has to change. And we decided to sell direct to consumer, doing the gate to plate. And it made it so then we were making money for one of the few times actually doing it that way. And we always we're not trying to be millionaires. We're just trying to make it so then we can make money and get our product out affordably to people as well. Because we completely understand how expensive it is in the stores. I think it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I think so much of this is artificially inflated. The fuel costs, we're one of the richest resource countries in the world. There's no reason why it needs to be like this. Mm-hmm. We could go to wells just around here and we'd have more than enough oil for us to be able to use. All of the parts and equipment, it's all going up in price. The fuel is the same way, carbon tax today. Farmers do still get some exemptions, which help. But when it comes to further down the line, everything else we buy, we are affected by these prices. This year, I'm uncertain as to how it's going to go because I've never seen fuel prices this high. Mm-hmm. And so many things. This is just a ripple effect. When you see the fuel prices right now, you won't see the farmer's end product price till 4 or 5 months from now.
Yeah.
And that's where people are going to get the sticker shock of that flour, grain prices and beef prices, they can just double in value in that time frame.
Wow.
And it can't go this way. That's why I say our infrastructure, Canada needs to focus just on our own infrastructure and getting it working again, rather than all this extra stuff. And I think I don't mind paying into taxes and doing all these extra things, but we're not seeing anything come back. We're not seeing any results. The only thing that environmentally gets improved is if I want to improve something on my own farm, which is the whole point of regenerative agriculture and what we strive for, because it helps benefit us as well.
Mm-hmm. So you would then you'd like to see the provincial government, the federal government, help you guys out by reducing taxes or maybe even subsidies or something to maybe keep the focus on local food.
Most definitely. I think that right now we're probably the most taxed country or province in the world right now. Mm-hmm. And it isn't sustainable. Okay.
Well, Jordan, I really appreciate you taking some time driving out to see us here and give your take on things. And hopefully it's a better year than your kind of the outlook is at the moment. So thanks for taking some time to chat with us today.
Thank you. And I definitely look forward to anybody coming out and visiting the markets in Fort St. John and Charlie Lake.
Absolutely. That's Jordan Kealy from Kealy Farm.